Hey, stop scrolling. Tonight we're taking you back, way, way back, to 38,000 BC, to the coldest place humans have ever survived, Siberia, where the temperature drops to minus 96 degrees Fahrenheit, where your breath freezes before it leaves your mouth, where exposed skin dies in under 3 minutes. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, this is where history meets your pillow, where the past becomes a bedtime story that's true, terrifying, and strangely soothing. Drop a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from, what time it is right now, and whether you're already tucked in or still fighting sleep. Tonight's story isn't about conquering nature. It's about becoming nature, because you're about to live as someone who survived the impossible. A member of a tribe that endured 40,000 years in the coldest inhabited place on Earth. Without fire, without metal, without any of the technology we think makes us human. You are Nutak. You are 12 years old, and you're about to learn that your people aren't just survivors. You're something evolution created specifically for this frozen hell. So dim the lights, get comfortable, and let me take you to a world where warmth is a memory, and cold is the only god that matters. You are Nutak, and you're learning what it means to survive in a place that wants you dead. Your name means the one who endures in your people's language, a language with 17 words for different types of cold, but no word for hot. You're 12 years old by the count of winters you've survived, and this morning, like every morning of your life, you wake in complete darkness inside a structure that barely deserves the name shelter. The cold is your first sensation. Not painful cold. You've never known warmth enough to understand pain as the absence of it. This is just existence. The air temperature inside your family's underground dwelling is perhaps 20 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. Outside, it's closer to 70 below. The difference between inside and outside is the difference between sleeping and dying. Your breath doesn't steam in here like it does above ground. It simply becomes tiny ice crystals that fall onto your face like snow. You're wedged between your mother and your younger brother, buried under layers of fur and hide that weigh more than you do. This is how your people sleep, piled together like wolf cubs, sharing body heat in a calculated arrangement where the youngest and oldest sleep in the middle, protected by the bodies of those in their prime. Your family is 8 people in a space barely 10 feet across. Privacy is not a concept your people have words for. Survival is measured in BTUs, body thermal units, though you'll never know that term. You just know that alone means death. Movement is difficult under the weight of the furs. You're learning to move slowly, to conserve the energy your body burns just staying alive in this temperature. Fast movements mean more heat loss, more calories burned, more risk. Everything your people do is calculated against the cold. Every action is a negotiation with death. You're learning to dress, which is not a simple act, but a survival ritual that can take 20 minutes. Your people wear clothing in layers, not 2 or 3 like modern Arctic gear, but 7 to 9 distinct layers, each serving a specific purpose in the complex calculus of not freezing to death. The order matters. Put them on wrong and you'll sweat. And sweat in this temperature is a death sentence. Moisture freezes against skin, creating ice that draws heat from your body faster than you can generate it. First layer, the undergarment. You're wearing a suit made from the softest parts of caribou hide, the thin skin from the animal's legs and belly, worn with the fur facing inward against your skin. This layer is never removed. You've worn this same undergarment for 3 months, since the last time your mother made you a new one. It's stiff with dried sweat, dead skin, and the natural oils from your body. It smells, though you don't notice because everyone smells the same. This layer works by trapping a thin layer of air warmed by your body heat. Second layer, the mammoth fur. This is a loose-fitting coat that hangs to your knees, made from the thick wool of a mammoth killed 2 winters ago. The fur is 4 inches thick in places. You're working it against your body to warm it, making it flexible enough to move in. The cold has frozen it into a rigid shell overnight. Your father's voice cuts through the darkness. Nutak. Outside. Now. There's no anger in his voice, just statement. You've overslept, missed the pre-dawn preparation. The others are already working. You're behind. In your world, being behind can mean being dead. You need to catch up. You're crawling through the exit tunnel, and this is where you learn that going outside in your world isn't like opening a door. It's like entering another dimension where different rules apply. The tunnel is 10 feet long, angled upward at about 30 degrees, with walls of packed earth that smell of frozen urine and old food. Your people urinate in the tunnel because going outside to relieve yourself in winter means exposing flesh to cold that can freeze tissue in seconds. The tunnel smells, but smell is survival. The alternative is death. As you crawl upward, the temperature drops with each foot of progress. Inside the dwelling, it was perhaps 20 below. Halfway up the tunnel, it's 40 below. At the exit, where you can see grey dawn light filtering through, it's 70 below zero Fahrenheit. The transition is so sharp you can feel it like a wall, like crawling through layers of increasingly thick water. Your breath, invisible inside, begins to show in the tunnel. By the time you reach the exit, each exhalation is a cloud of vapor that instantly crystallizes into tiny ice particles that fall like snow. You emerge into a world that's trying to kill you. That's not metaphor. The physics of this temperature are actively hostile to human life. The air is so cold it feels solid in your lungs. Each breath is careful, deliberate, drawn through your nose where tissues pre-warm it slightly before it enters your lungs. Breathing through your mouth would freeze the moisture in your throat in seconds. You learned this as a toddler, the hard way, watching a cousin die because he gasped in shock at something and sucked in a lungful of air at 80 below. He was dead before sunset, lungs frozen and filled with fluid. The world you emerge into is grey, white, and endless. The sun is just appearing, a weak disk in the southern sky that provides light but almost no heat. The landscape is flat tundra, stretching to the horizon in every direction, broken only by low hills and the occasional stunted tree. Everything is covered in snow that never melts, compressed into layers representing years of accumulation. Your father is working on a seal carcass, and you're about to learn one of the most important lessons of your people. How to harvest every single part of an animal, because waste here isn't just impractical, it's immoral. The seal was caught yesterday in a breathing hole in the ice, a hunt that took 6 hours of waiting in temperatures that would kill an unprotected human in minutes. Your father killed it with a bone harpoon, dragged it back to camp, and now in the brief light of day, he's processing it before the cold freezes it into a solid block. The seal is on its back on the snow, frozen stiff, and your father is using a stone blade to carefully peel back the hide. This is skilled work. The hide must come off in one piece if possible, with the blubber layer attached. Seal blubber is perhaps the most valuable substance in your world. It's food. It's fuel for the lamps that provide your only light. It's waterproofing for clothing. It's medicine for wounds. It's trade value with other bands. A seal this size, about 150 pounds, represents perhaps 2 weeks of calories for your extended family, plus materials for clothing and tools. You watch your father work with movements so efficient they look effortless. There's no wasted motion, no pauses, no uncertainty. He's done this hundreds of times. His hands, even through thick mittens, know where to cut, how much pressure to apply, how to separate hide from meat without damaging either. You're learning by watching, as you learn everything. Your people don't teach with words much. They demonstrate and you copy. Questions are answered with watch, or try, or sometimes just a look. "Nutak," your father says without looking up. "Why did you oversleep?" His voice is neutral, just asking, but you know this is important. The answer he wants is an explanation that shows you understand what went wrong and won't repeat it. You're learning that fat is more valuable than gold, though you don't know what gold is. Your father has peeled back enough of the seal hide to expose a thick layer of blubber, and he's now showing you how to harvest it properly. The blubber must be cut in specific ways, strips about 2 inches wide, following the natural grain of the tissue. Cut against the grain, and it falls apart. Cut too thin, and it's harder to store. Cut too thick, and it won't render properly when you need oil. "Feel this," your father says, guiding your mittened hand to touch the blubber. Even through the thick sealskin gloves, you can feel how dense it is, how solid in the cold. This is why seal, not mammoth. Mammoth has hair, has size, but seal has this. He presses harder on your hand, making you feel the compact energy stored in this white tissue. One seal feeds us 2 weeks. One mammoth feeds us 2 months, but takes 20 men to kill. Maybe men die. Seal takes 1 man, 1 day. You understand? You nod. This is mathematics your people understand. Risk versus reward. Calorie expenditure versus calorie return. A mammoth hunt is prestigious, exciting, the subject of stories, but seal hunting is reliable, sustainable, safer. Your people have survived 40,000 years, not by being brave warriors, but by being careful accountants of energy. Every action is a transaction. How many calories will this cost versus how many will it provide? Your father is teaching you to think this way, to calculate survival. He hands you a smaller stone blade. You cut now. Here to here. He indicates a section of blubber, about 1 foot long. This is a test. Cut well, and he'll let you continue. Cut poorly, and you'll just watch. Your hands are shaking slightly, not from cold, from nervousness, as you position the blade. You spend 2 hours helping process the seal, and by the end, your hands ache from gripping tools. Your knees are numb from kneeling on ice, and you've learned more about anatomy than any modern 12-year-old will ever know. You've seen how the blubber connects to muscle, how the muscle layers in different directions, how the organs fit together in the body cavity. Your father has explained the purpose of each part. The liver, rich in vitamins your people need, eaten raw and still warm. The intestines, cleaned and used for waterproof storage bags. The stomach contents, partially digested fish, which your people sometimes eat for the nutrients. The sinew, tendons from the flippers, perfect for sewing thread. Even the whiskers, carved into needles. Nothing is wasted. The concept of garbage doesn't exist in your language. Every part of this animal will become something useful. Or it will be eaten by the dogs, who serve your people by pulling sleds and providing warmth. Even the seal's blood is collected in a cleaned intestine, frozen, and later thawed to drink when fresh water is scarce. Blood doesn't freeze as easily as water, making it valuable liquid nutrition in the winter. Your family's share of this seal is about 20 pounds of meat and blubber. The rest is divided among the other families in your band, according to complex rules you're still learning. The hunter who made the kill gets the largest share. His immediate family gets the next largest. Families with young children get more. Elders get choice parts. Everyone gets something. This isn't generosity, it's insurance. Today, your father made the kill. Tomorrow he might be injured or sick, and your family will need shares from someone else's hunt. Your people survive because they understand that individual success means nothing if the group dies. Inside the dwelling, warmth is relative. It's perhaps 30 degrees warmer than outside, which means it's only 20 below zero instead of 50 below. Your mother is tending the lamp, and you're learning that fire in your world isn't what modern people think of as fire. Your people have fire. You're not living entirely without it, despite the title's suggestion. But it's fire so carefully controlled, so precious, that it barely qualifies as fire in the modern sense. It's more like captured heat, jealously guarded. The lamp is a marvel of engineering. A shallow bowl carved from soapstone, about a foot across and 2 inches deep, filled with rendered seal oil. A wick made from dried moss sits in the oil, burning with a tiny flame no larger than a modern candle flame. This single small flame is your family's primary heat source, light source, and cooking fire. It produces perhaps 50 watts of heat, about as much as a modern light bulb. But in this insulated underground space, that 50 watts makes the difference between survivable and unsurvivable. Your mother tends this lamp constantly. If it goes out, relighting it is difficult and dangerous. Fire starting here requires using a bow drill on dry wood to create an ember, then carefully nursing that ember into flame with dried grass and animal fat. The process can take 30 minutes, even for an expert. And during that time, the dwelling cools. The lamp never goes out. Someone is always watching it. At night, people take turns staying awake to add oil and adjust the wick. The lamp is life itself. You present the blubber to your mother, explaining your father's instruction to render it today. She nods, already moving to prepare her tools. Rendering blubber means cutting it into small pieces and slowly heating them over the lamp flame until the fat liquefies and can be poured into storage containers. It's tedious work that takes hours. Your mother will do this while also managing every other household task. You're watching her, learning, knowing that one day you'll have your own lamp to tend. You're learning that rendering blubber is meditation disguised as work. There's nothing to do but sit and watch small chunks of fat slowly liquefy over the tiny lamp flame. It takes about 15 minutes per chunk. Your mother has perhaps 50 chunks to render from the strip you brought. This will take hours. This is how your people spend much of winter. Sitting, waiting, watching, conserving energy. Activity is expensive. Stillness is survival. Your mother talks while she works, which is unusual. Normally your people are quiet, speaking only when necessary. But teaching requires words, and you're old enough now for teaching. The lamp, she says, adjusting the wick slightly, is your life. You understand? You nod, but she continues anyway. No lamp, no heat. No heat, you sleep, you die. Simple. Her hands are working while she talks, adding a new chunk of blubber to the bowl, removing the liquefied oil and pouring it into a storage bag made from a seal's stomach, cleaned and dried. The oil is clear and golden, beautiful in the lamplight. Your grandmother, your mother continues, she let the lamp die. One night, very old, very tired, she fell asleep. The lamp went out. By morning, everyone in the dwelling was nearly frozen. Your grandfather managed to restart it, but grandmother's feet were frozen. Black. She lived 2 more weeks, then died. Infection. Your mother's voice is matter of fact, not sad or angry, just stating information. Death is common enough that it doesn't require emotion. You will never let the lamp die. You promise this. You promise, understanding that this isn't a request, but a fundamental law of survival. The lamp is life, Everything else, food, shelter, clothing, means nothing without the lamp. In your world, fire isn't something used for comfort or cooking. It's the thin barrier between existence and extinction. Hours have passed, and the blubber is fully rendered. Your mother has produced perhaps 2 quarts of pure seal oil, stored in 3 separate bags made from seal intestine, sewn waterproof, stored in a dark corner where the cold keeps them fresh. This oil is wealth. It's heating fuel for perhaps 10 days. It's also food. Your people drink oil sometimes, straight, for concentrated calories when food is scarce. A mouthful of seal oil provides more energy than a meal of lean meat. Your body needs fat to survive here, not protein. Protein without fat is called rabbit starvation by some northern peoples. You can eat until you're full and still starve, because your body can't process protein efficiently without fat. Your people know this instinctively, though they don't know the biochemistry. They just know. Fat equals survival. Now you're hungry, and your mother is preparing a meal, which here means letting frozen meat thaw slightly so it can be eaten. Your people cook meat sometimes, holding it over the lamp flame, but often you eat it frozen or barely thawed. Cooking requires fuel and time. Raw meat requires neither. You've been eating raw meat since you were old enough to chew, and you've never known anything else. The concept that meat should be cooked would seem wasteful and strange to you. Your mother hands you a strip of seal meat, frozen solid, about the size of your hand. Eat slowly, she reminds you, as she reminds you at every meal. Eating too fast when you're frozen can cause stomach cramps. The meat is so cold it burns your hands slightly as you hold it. You put it in your mouth and just let it sit there, warming against your tongue, slowly becoming soft enough to chew. It tastes of blood and salt and fat. It tastes like life. After eating, there's no activity. You're learning that your people spend most of their time doing nothing. And this isn't laziness, it's survival strategy. At temperatures below -40, your body is burning calories constantly just maintaining core temperature. Every movement burns additional calories. Therefore, you move as little as possible. Your people have perfected the art of stillness. They sit for hours, barely moving, conserving energy like bears in hibernation, except they're still awake. You're sitting with your back against the wall, feeling the cold seeping through from the frozen earth behind it. But you're warm enough in your layers. Your mother is working on sewing, one of the few activities that's worth the calorie expenditure, because it's creating clothing that will save more calories than the sewing burns. She's using sinew thread and a bone needle to repair a tear in your father's outer coat. The stitches must be tiny and perfect. Any gap will let in wind, and wind is the real killer here. Temperature you can handle with clothing, but wind cuts through clothing, finding every gap, every weak point, stealing heat catastrophically fast. Your brother is coughing. Not much, just occasional small coughs. But your mother's face tightens every time she hears it. Respiratory illness in this climate is often fatal. Once infection gets into lungs, it's difficult to fight. Your people have no medicine, except plants that don't grow here. Animal parts, used in ways that sometimes help and sometimes don't. And hope. Your brother's cough could be nothing, or it could be the beginning of the sickness that will kill him before spring. Everyone is listening to that cough, making calculations. How bad is it? How fast is it progressing? What can be done? What are the odds? You're thinking about this because it's impossible not to. Your brother is 7 years old. You've already had 2 siblings die before age 5. Death is normal, expected, unremarkable except when it happens to someone you know. The next morning, your brother's cough is worse. Not dramatically worse, but noticeably worse. Your mother's face when she wakes shows she's heard it during the night. Your father examines your brother, lifting his outer clothing to press an ear against his small chest, listening to his breathing. You're watching this, learning diagnosis by observation. Your father's face tells you what you need to know before he speaks. It's bad. It's progressing. There's worry. Chest sickness, your father finally says, using the term that covers everything from minor cold to fatal pneumonia. In your language, these aren't different diseases. They're all chest sickness of varying severity. We watch. He stays inside. Keep warm. There's nothing else to do. No medicine, no doctor. Just hope his body can fight the infection before it overwhelms him. Children die from chest sickness every winter. It's as common as snow. Your father is preparing to go out, and this morning he's taking you with him. Time to learn fish, he says, and you understand. You're going to learn ice fishing. This is a critical survival skill. Seals are valuable but not reliable. Sometimes you can't find them, can't kill them, can't access their breathing holes through thick ice. Fish are consistent. There are always fish in the river. You just need to know how to catch them through 6 feet of ice. You're dressing again, the same ritual of layers, each one purposeful. But now you're faster, more practiced. You can dress yourself in 15 minutes, check all your closures, ensure no skin is exposed. You're becoming competent, which is the highest compliment in your people's limited vocabulary of praise. The walk to the river takes an hour, though it's less than a mile away. Everything takes longer in this cold. You're not walking quickly. Fast movement generates sweat, and sweat equals death. You're moving at a steady, measured pace, each breath controlled, each step deliberate. Your father walks ahead, breaking trail through snow that's waist-deep in places, compressed and crusted in others. You follow in his footsteps, literally walking in the impressions his feet leave, which saves you energy and keeps you from post-holing into softer snow. The landscape around you is simultaneously beautiful and terrifying. The snow stretches unbroken to the horizon, reflecting what little light the weak sun provides. The sky is that pale blue that only happens in extreme cold. No clouds because it's too cold for moisture to condense. Every breath you take crystallizes instantly, creating a small cloud that falls to the ground as tiny ice particles. You're leaving a trail of ice crystals in your wake, each exhalation becoming snow before it dissipates. You're seeing wildlife, or rather evidence of wildlife. Tracks in the snow, mammoth prints like small craters, wolf tracks in a line showing pack movement, the distinctive drag marks of a wolverine. Your father points these out without stopping, testing your knowledge. What animal? He asks, indicating tracks. You study them, identifying. Mammoth, 2 days old, moving south. You know this by the way the snow has drifted slightly into the prints, by the direction of the tracks, by the depth indicating the animal's weight. Your father grunts approval. Reading tracks is reading a story written in snow, and you're becoming literate. The river appears ahead, a wide depression in the landscape where the ice has formed over flowing water. In summer, this is a river. In winter, it's 6 feet of solid ice, with water flowing beneath. Your people's survival depends on accessing that water and the fish it contains. Ice fishing in your world is engineering. Your father is carrying tools, a bone pick, a stone wedge, and a bone scoop. You're about to watch him cut through 6 feet of solid ice using nothing but these simple tools and enormous patience. This is work that will take 3 hours. Modern people with ice augers can drill through in minutes. Your father will need until afternoon. He's selecting a spot over deep water, reading the ice the way you read tracks. Ice over deep water looks slightly different, darker blue rather than pale blue-white, with subtle texture differences. This is where fish concentrate in winter, in the deepest parts, where water is least likely to freeze solid. Your father is marking the spot by scraping snow away in a circle about 3 feet across, exposing the ice surface. You watch first year, he says, meaning this year you watch and learn. Next year you'll help. The year after, you'll do it yourself. This is your people's teaching method. Observation, assisted practice, independent execution, spread over years. Nothing is rushed. You're settling in to watch, knowing this will take hours. Your father begins by using the stone wedge to score a circle in the ice, marking where he'll cut. Then he starts chipping, using the bone pick to break away small chunks of ice, working around the circle, gradually deepening the groove. The sound is rhythmic. Chip, 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 a steady beat that carries across the silent tundra. This is meditation again, disguised as work. There's no way to rush this. Ice is hard. Tools are simple. Progress is measured in fractions of inches per hour. Your father's face shows no impatience, no frustration, just steady focus. This is how your people do everything. Slowly, carefully, with infinite patience. Time doesn't matter when you have nothing but time.
3 hours later, breakthrough. Your father's pick suddenly punches through the last layer of ice, and dark water wells up into the hole, spilling across the ice surface before freezing. The sight of liquid water in this temperature is strange, almost unnatural. Water should be solid. Seeing it flow is like witnessing magic. Your father quickly widens the hole, breaking away the edges until the circle is about 2 feet across, large enough to work with. The water below is black and moving, the current visible even in the dim light filtering down. Now comes the actual fishing. Your father is unwrapping his line from around his waist. He carries it there, against his body, keeping it flexible. In this cold, line left exposed becomes stiff and brittle. He's attaching his hook, then reaching into his pack for bait, a chunk of the seal meat you helped process yesterday, about the size of your thumb. He impales it on the hook, the frozen meat rigid enough that it's almost like baiting with wood. Then he lowers the line into the hole, letting the hook and bait sink into the darkness. And then, more waiting. Ice fishing is 95% waiting, 5% frantic activity. Your father is holding the line loosely, feeling for the subtle tug that means a fish is investigating the bait. You're watching his hands, seeing how gently he holds the line, not gripping it tightly, just resting it across his palm. This is sensitivity work, feeling through thick gloves for a signal from below. Time passes, maybe an hour. The sun is starting its descent toward the horizon. You have perhaps 3 hours of usable light left. Your father's face shows no concern about time. Fish come when fish come. Impatience accomplishes nothing. Then, a tug. Slight but definite. Your father's hand closes on the line. Another tug. He's pulling gently, setting the hook. Then hand over hand he's hauling up, steady and smooth. A fish breaks the surface, thrashing. It's perhaps 3 pounds, silver grey, its mouth hooked. Your father is grabbing it, removing the hook with practiced efficiency, and tossing the fish onto the ice where it immediately begins to freeze. By the time the light begins to fail, your father has caught 6 fish, each between 2 and 4 pounds. They're lined up on the ice like frozen sculptures, beautiful in their simplicity. 6 fish means perhaps 18 pounds of food, which translates to roughly 3 days of calories for your family of 8. 3 hours of chipping ice, 3 hours of fishing, for 3 days of survival. This is the mathematics your people live by. Every action is a calculation.
Energy spent versus energy gained. This expedition was worth it. Barely. If your father had caught fewer fish, it would have been a loss. More calories burned traveling and working than gained from the food. This is why your people are so cautious, so methodical. Failure doesn't mean you go hungry one day. It means the slow death of starvation creeps closer. You're helping pack up, coiling the line, gathering the tools, loading the fish into a hide bag. The fish are already frozen solid, making them easy to handle and transport. They'll stay frozen until you're ready to eat them. No special storage needed. The cold is your refrigerator, your freezer, your preservation system. At least that's one benefit of living in hell. The walk back is harder than the walk out. You're tired, carrying weight, and the temperature is dropping as the sun sets. Sunset in winter here is a dangerous time. Temperature can drop 20 degrees in an hour as the weak sun disappears. You're moving faster now, burning energy you can't spare. But staying out after dark is worse. Your father is setting a brisk pace, not running, but walking purposefully. You're struggling to keep up. Your shorter legs working harder. Your breathing becoming labored. He notices and slows slightly, just enough to make it manageable. This is how your people function. Observation, adjustment, care for the group. Individualism doesn't exist. The group survives or dies together. When you crawl through the entrance tunnel, the warmth of the dwelling hits you like a physical wave, and you're gasping, your body suddenly understanding just how cold it was outside. Your face is numb. Your fingers are numb. Your toes are numb. These are dangerous signs. Numbness means the early stages of freezing. Your mother sees your face and immediately moves to help, pulling off your outer layers, rubbing your hands between hers to restore circulation. The pain when blood flow returns to frozen tissue is intense, like knives stabbing your fingers. You're biting your lip to keep from crying out, but tears are streaming down your face anyway. This is frostbite prevention, and it hurts worse than the freezing did. Your brother is worse. You can hear his breathing from across the dwelling, wet, labored, rattling with each inhale. He's developed what your people call water in the lungs, which might be pneumonia or might be something else, but the result is the same. He's drowning slowly, his lungs filling with fluid his body can't expel. Your mother has been forcing him to drink seal oil mixed with dried plant matter, some kind of traditional medicine your people use, but it's not helping. He's declining, visibly weaker than he was this morning. Your father delivers the fish to your mother, then immediately moves to examine your brother. He listens to his chest, feels his forehead, checks his breathing rate. When he looks up, his face tells the story. Your brother is dying. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. The infection is winning. There's nothing to be done except wait and see if his body can fight it off. Your father doesn't say this out loud. He doesn't need to. Everyone in the dwelling knows. Death is coming. The only question is whether it takes your brother or passes him by. That night, no one sleeps well. Your brother's breathing is too loud, too wet, too obviously struggling. Every rattle makes you wonder if it's his last breath. But morning comes, and he's still breathing, still fighting. Your people have a saying, if you wake, you live. Each morning is a victory, small but real. Your brother woke. He's still alive. That's enough for now. Your father is making a decision. The family needs food, but he doesn't want to leave your mother alone with a sick child,
and the rest of the family. He's decided to take you hunting. Not ice fishing, that's stable and safe, but seal hunting at a breathing hole. This is more dangerous, more difficult, but potentially more rewarding. One seal provides more food than 20 fish. The risk-reward calculation says it's worth it. You're honored and terrified to be chosen. This is your first real hunt for large prey. The preparation is more extensive than for fishing. Your father is checking both his and your clothing carefully, looking for any tears, any weak points. He's applying fresh seal fat to the seams, waterproofing them. He's checking weapons. His harpoon, carved from mammoth ivory with a bone point, barbed to stay in the seal once it's struck, attached to a long line made from braided sinew. He's teaching you how to coil this line properly, so it feeds out without tangling when a seal is harpooned. This is life or death knowledge. A tangled line means a lost seal. A lost seal might mean a lost family. You're watching and learning, your hands copying his movements as he demonstrates the line coiling. The line must coil clockwise, each loop the same size, no twists, no kinks. It takes practice. Your first attempts are terrible. Loops of different sizes, twists in the line. Again, your father says patiently. You uncoil and try again, and again, and again. After an hour, your coils are acceptable. Not perfect, but acceptable. Good enough to use without fear of tangling. This is the standard your people hold. Good enough to bet your life on.
The seal hunt requires walking even farther than the ice fishing spot, several miles across the tundra to an area where seals maintain breathing holes in the thick ice. Seals are mammals. They need air, so even when rivers and lakes freeze solid, seals keep holes open by repeatedly coming up to breathe, preventing ice from forming. Finding these holes requires knowledge of the landscape, understanding of seal behavior, and luck. Your father knows several holes from previous years, but seals abandon holes sometimes, create new ones in different locations. Finding a breathing hole with fresh signs of use is the first challenge. You're walking behind your father, following his trail again, but this time you're carrying the coiled harpoon line, wearing it slung across your body, feeling its weight. This is responsibility. If the line tangles when your father makes a strike, the seal escapes and the hunt is wasted. Every step you take, you're conscious of the line, making sure it's not snagging on your clothing, not getting wet in the snow, not freezing into a solid mass. This is focused awareness. Every movement deliberate. After 2 hours of walking, your father stops, drops to one knee, examining the ice. You move beside him, looking at what he sees. A slight depression in the snow-covered ice, perhaps 2 feet across, with subtle differences in color, darker blue-gray rather than white, and telltale scrape marks at the edges where a seal's claws have gripped the ice to haul itself out. Fresh scratches, not more than a day old. Your father's face shows satisfaction. Good hole. We wait here, and you understand. This is where you'll spend the next several hours, possibly all day, waiting, motionless, for a seal to surface. Seal hunting is 90% waiting, 9% cold, 1% explosive action.
An hour passes, then 2. You're not moving. Your father is not moving.
Movement scares seals. They're preyed upon by polar bears who also hunt at breathing holes, so they're extremely cautious. Any vibration through the ice, any sound, any shadow moving across the hole, and the seal will surface elsewhere. So you stand, perfectly still, for hours. This is harder than any physical work you've ever done. Your legs are burning, muscles locked in position, screaming to move. Your back aches. Your arms holding the rope are cramping. But you don't move. This is the discipline of hunting. Pain is temporary. Movement means failure. You choose pain. Your mind is wandering to cope with the physical discomfort. You're thinking about your brother, wondering if he's still alive, if you'll come home to grief or relief. You're thinking about the seal, imagining it swimming beneath you, dark and sleek in the black water, debating whether to surface at this hole or another. You're thinking about nothing, just existing in the moment, breath by breath. This is meditation, though you don't know that word. You're just being, suffering quietly, waiting. Then, movement in the hole, a ripple in the dark water, subtle but unmistakable. Your father sees it too. His body tenses fractionally, the only movement he's made in 2 hours. You're holding your breath, afraid even breathing might scare the seal. Another ripple. Then a dark shape rising in the water, moving toward the surface. This is it. This is the moment 2 hours of suffering has been leading to. Your father's entire body is coiled like a spring, the harpoon poised. The seal's head breaks the surface, dark and sleek, water streaming off its whiskers. It's breathing, taking air, vulnerable for just seconds before it will dive again. Your father strikes. The seal is fighting for its life. It's diving hard, pulling the line with tremendous force, trying to break free. Your father is hauling back on the line, hand over hand, but the seal is strong and water is its element. This isn't a quick kill. This is a battle, a tug-of-war between human endurance and animal desperation. Your father is bracing his feet, leaning back, using his body weight to counter the seal's pulls. You're still managing the coiled line, feeding it out when the seal dives deep, helping haul it in when your father gains ground. This is teamwork, coordinated without words, just practiced movements and understood roles. Minutes pass. Your father is breathing hard, the physical effort enormous. The seal is tiring too, its pulls becoming less frequent, less powerful. The barbed harpoon point is doing its work, locked in the seal's flesh, every pull setting the barb deeper. Cruel but effective. The seal can't escape. It can only fight until exhaustion or blood loss ends the struggle. This is the reality of hunting. One creature's death is another's survival. You're watching your father's face, seeing the strain, the determination, the satisfaction as he feels the seal weakening. Finally, after perhaps 10 minutes of struggle, the seal surfaces again, this time just a few feet from the hole, tired, bleeding, dying. Your father makes a quick decision. He drops the line, grabs a bone club from his belt, and delivers a solid blow to the seal's head. The animal goes limp. Dead or unconscious, it doesn't matter. Your father is grabbing the line again, hauling the body toward the hole, pulling it up onto the ice. It's perhaps 150 pounds of seal, more meat and blubber than your family can eat in 2 weeks. Success, complete, total success. You just participated in your first major kill. Your father looks at you, and in his eyes you see pride. Dragging a 150-pound seal across 2 miles of tundra is brutally hard work. The hide beneath the seal helps it slide on the snow, but the weight is still enormous, and the rope is cutting into your waist despite your layers of clothing. You're pulling with everything you have, leaning forward into the rope, legs driving, but the seal barely moves. Your father is pulling too, taking most of the weight, but even for him this is punishing work. After 10 minutes, you're both breathing so hard you have to stop and rest. Your father's face shows concern. This much exertion means burning calories you can't spare, and you're both sweating, which is dangerous. Sweat equals wet equals cold,
equals death. But there's no choice. The seal must reach home before dark. Before scavengers find it. Before your family's need becomes critical. You're developing a rhythm. Pull for 10 minutes. Rest for 3. Repeat. During the rest periods, you're adjusting your clothing, letting sweat evaporate, drinking handfuls of snow for hydration. Snow doesn't quench thirst well. It costs more body heat to melt than it provides water, but it's all you have. Your father is doing the same, managing his body temperature carefully, survival calculations never stopping. After an hour, you're perhaps a quarter of the way home. You're calculating. At this rate, you'll make it by dark, but barely. The sun is already dropping toward the horizon, and each minute of delay makes success less certain. Your muscles are screaming, your lungs are burning, and you've never been more proud. This is real work, adult work, life or death work. You're 12 years old and you're hauling a seal home to save your family. This is what becoming a person means in your culture. Taking on responsibility, enduring suffering, contributing to survival. You're earning your place in the world, one painful step at a time. You make it home just as the sun touches the horizon, the sky turning orange and pink, temperature plummeting. You're completely exhausted, barely able to crawl through the entrance tunnel, but you're also electric with accomplishment. The seal is secured outside, too large to bring through the tunnel. Your father will butcher it in sections, bringing pieces inside throughout the evening. But for now, you just need to rest, warm up, survive the aftermath of such extreme exertion. Your mother sees your face and immediately begins the recovery process. Removing your outer layers that are soaked with sweat, wrapping you in dry furs, forcing you to drink seal oil mixed with water, calories and hydration combined. You're too tired to protest, just accepting her care, letting your body recover. Your muscles are twitching and cramping. Your legs feel like water. Your arms are dead weight. This is what happens when you push past your limits. Your body needs time to process the damage and repair. Your brother is still alive, but worse. His breathing is even more labored. His face is grey, his lips blue. Your mother's face when she looks at him shows acceptance. He's going to die. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow, but soon. The seal you brought might save the rest of the family, but it can't save him. Food doesn't cure lung infections. Sometimes survival means accepting loss. Your people understand this. Death is not fought against when fighting is hopeless. It's acknowledged, mourned quickly, and life continues. This might seem cold to modern people, but it's survival. Excessive grief is a luxury your people can't afford. You sleep for 12 hours straight, your body recovering from the extreme exertion. When you wake, it's morning again, grey light filtering through the ventilation hole. Your first thought is my brother alive? You're turning your head, looking across the dwelling, seeing nothing. The spot where your brother slept is empty. Your heart clenches. He's dead. But then you hear from the corner, and you realize he's been moved closer to the lamp, given the warmest position, fighting his infection with every advantage your family can provide. He's alive. Still dying, probably, but alive for now. Your body is a symphony of pain. Every muscle aches. Your hands are swollen and purple with bruises. Your back is stiff and painful. Your legs barely want to move. This is normal after extreme exertion in extreme cold. Your body diverted all resources to keeping you alive during the hunt, and now it's paying the price. But you're also proud of these pains. They're evidence of work done, of contribution made, of becoming useful. Pain with purpose is tolerable. You're flexing your hands at the soreness, but also marveling at what these hands helped accomplish. The seal is being processed. You can hear your father working outside. Your mother is cooking over the lamp, a rare luxury. Seal meat warmed until it's not quite frozen, made soft enough to eat comfortably. The smell is overwhelming after days of just eating raw, frozen food. Cooked meat smells like celebration, like success, like life. Your stomach is cramping with hunger, responding to the smell. You're salivating, your body demanding the calories it burned yesterday. Food is coming. You contributed to this food. The connection between effort and reward is direct and satisfying. Over the next 3 days, life settles into a new rhythm. The seal meat has bought your family security. Enough food for 2 weeks, blubber for oil, hide for repairs. Your father is taking advantage of the good weather, only -40 instead of -60, to do maintenance, checking the dwelling structure, repairing the roof where snow weight has caused sagging, replacing worn hide coverings. You're helping when you can, but mostly you're recovering. Your hands are slowly healing, the swelling going down, the bruises fading from purple to green to yellow. In a week they'll be back to normal. Your muscles are also recovering, the deep ache fading to occasional stiffness. Your brother is the surprise. He's improving. Slightly, marginally, but improving. His breathing is less labored. His color is better. He's even eating small amounts, which he wasn't before. No one knows why some people fight off infections and others don't. Your people don't understand bacteria or immune systems. They just know that sometimes people get better and sometimes they don't, and you can't predict which. Your brother is getting better. Your mother's face shows cautious hope. She's not celebrating yet. Improvement can reverse, but the terror has eased. He might survive. That possibility, which seemed impossible 3 days ago, is now real. You're learning a critical lesson. Survival is never one big success. It's thousands of small successes, daily, adding up to continued existence. The seal hunt was important, but it's just one piece of an endless puzzle. Tomorrow there will be new challenges, new dangers, new work. The cold doesn't care that you brought food home. The winter doesn't end because you succeeded once. You must succeed every day, forever, or die. This is the reality your people live with, and you're beginning to understand it at a level deeper than words. A week after the seal hunt, the weather turns catastrophic. Your father wakes everyone before dawn, his face showing controlled alarm. Storm coming! Big one! Everyone inside today. No one goes out. This is serious. Your people don't stay inside lightly. Work must be done regardless of weather. But some storms are too dangerous. Your father has read the signs. The direction of the wind, the quality of the light, the behavior of animals. Subtle indicators accumulated over decades of experience. A massive storm is coming, probably the worst of the season. You're preparing to wait it out. The preparation is methodical, bringing in extra fuel, dried dung and bone, used for emergency heating when seal oil runs low, securing the entrance tunnel with extra hide covering, checking that all air vents are clear but protected, gathering extra furs for warmth, filling every container with ice chunks that will be melted for water during the storm. You can't go out during a whiteout. Visibility drops to 0. Temperature can hit 80 or 90 below, and wind can reach 60 miles per hour. Those conditions kill an unprotected person in minutes. Protected but lost, maybe an hour. Your only option is to wait inside and hope the dwelling holds. The storm hits midday.
You hear it before you feel it. A roar like continuous thunder. Wind screaming across the tundra. The dwelling shakes. The hide coverings flap and strain against their moorings. Snow begins to filter through tiny gaps, creating small drifts inside. The temperature drops even inside the dwelling. The wind is finding every weakness, stealing heat. Your family is huddling together around the lamp, maximizing shared body heat. This is survival at its most basic. 8 people, one small flame, waiting for nature's fury to pass.
The storm lasts 3 days. 3 days of howling wind, drifting snow, and temperatures that drop to -96 degrees Fahrenheit, the coldest temperature your people have ever survived. You know this number not because you can measure it, but because your father knows the stories, passed down through generations, of storms measured by survival outcomes. This storm enters those stories. This is the storm that will be talked about for years. Remember the storm when the temperature dropped so low that metal would shatter, when breath froze before it left your mouth, when we thought we would all die. This storm becomes legend even as you're living through it. Inside the dwelling, survival is measured in oil. The lamp must burn continuously, or everyone freezes. Your mother is rationing the seal oil carefully, measuring how much is left against how long the storm might last. She's calculated they have perhaps 4 days of oil at minimum burn rate. The storm is on day 3. If it lasts 5 days, someone will have to go outside to retrieve cached oil from the storage area. A death sentence in these conditions. But without oil, staying inside is also a death sentence. These are the choices your people face. Die quickly trying, or die slowly doing nothing. Your father is already preparing to make the attempt if day 4 arrives and the storm hasn't broken. But on the morning of day 4, the sound changes. The roar fades to howling, then to whistling, then to silence. The storm has passed. You've survived. When your father crawls to the entrance tunnel and pushes aside the hide covering, brilliant sunshine streams in, so bright after 3 days of darkness that everyone shields their eyes. The world outside has been transformed. Snow has drifted over everything, covering the dwelling completely, except for the ventilation holes. You're buried under perhaps 10 feet of snow, but you're alive. The dwelling held. The lamp stayed lit. Your family survived what will be remembered as the worst storm in living memory. The aftermath of the storm is a community event. All the families emerge from their dwellings to assess damage, check on neighbors, share resources if needed. This is when you learn the true price of the storm. 3 people dead. An elder in another family died during the storm. His heart simply stopped, perhaps from stress or cold or age or all 3. A young mother died trying to retrieve cached food on day 3 when their supplies ran low. She froze within minutes of leaving her dwelling. And a child, younger than you, died of the same lung sickness your brother had. Without the storm, the child might have recovered. The storm tipped the balance. 3 deaths from one storm. Your people will remember this storm by counting the dead. But your family is intact. Your brother survived, barely. His recovery set back by the cold and stress, but alive. Your mother is efficient and calm, immediately organizing the recovery work. Your father is coordinating with other families, forming work teams to dig out dwellings, check food caches buried under 10 feet of snow, repair damage. You're part of this work, contributing your strength, and you notice something. You're not the weakest anymore. There are younger children who need help. There are adults who are injured or sick. You're young, but you're capable, and that makes you valuable. Your place in the community hierarchy has shifted. You've become useful. The work takes days. Every dwelling must be dug out completely. Every cache must be located and excavated.
Every piece of damaged equipment must be assessed and repaired or replaced. This is the tax the storm extracts. Not just lives, but time and energy your people can't spare. Winter is the longest season, and now it's even longer because you must work to recover what the storm took. But work is also life. Work means you're still here, still fighting, still surviving. The dead don't work. The living do. 2 weeks after the storm, life has returned to a new normal. The dead have been dealt with according to your people's customs. Bodies taken outside the settlement, left on the snow for scavengers, returned to the natural cycle. Your people don't bury dead in winter. The ground is frozen solid, impossible to dig. Bodies are simply left where weather and animals will process them. This might seem disrespectful to modern people, but your people see it as practical and even beautiful. The dead feed the living, whether directly through inheritance or indirectly by feeding scavengers that your people will later hunt. Everything is cyclical. Death is not an ending, but a transformation. Your brother has fully recovered. The storm's cold slowed his infection's progress just enough for his immune system to win the battle. He's thin and weak, but alive and improving daily. He's eating, moving, even playing slightly with the bone charms that serve as toys in your world. Seeing him recover is a daily gift, a reminder that sometimes survival is pure luck. He could have died. Many children died this winter, in your settlement and others. He lived. There's no explaining it, no controlling it. You're just grateful. You're beginning to understand the larger patterns of survival. It's not just about being strong or smart or lucky. It's about being part of a system that's larger than any individual. Your family survived because you brought the seal. The seal hunt succeeded because your father had knowledge passed down from his father. That knowledge exists because your people have accumulated 40,000 years of learning, trial and error, success and failure. You're not just surviving as an individual. You're surviving as the latest iteration of a culture that's older than agriculture, older than writing, older than almost anything modern humans think of as civilization. This is deep survival, written in cultural memory, practiced daily, tested constantly. And you're part of it now, truly part of it. Winter's deepest part is passing. You can feel it in subtle ways. The sun rises slightly higher each day, staying above the horizon a few minutes longer. The wind shifts direction, coming from the south sometimes instead of always from the north. Animal behavior changes. Ptarmigan begin to gather in larger flocks, preparing for spring migration. Your father points these signs out, teaching you to read the season's progression. 40 days until thaw, he estimates, reading signs you're only beginning to understand. 40 days. It seems impossible that warmth exists, that ice melts, that the world can be anything other than frozen. But your father knows. He's survived 50 winters. He can read the season like you're learning to read tracks. The food situation is stable but not comfortable. The seal is half-eaten, providing perhaps another week of meat and blubber. After that, your family will need another successful hunt, or will have to dip into emergency caches, food buried in the fall, frozen solid, saved for desperate times. Your people are always balancing between enough food and not enough food. There's no surplus, no safety margin. Every day is a calculation. How much do we eat today? How much do we save? How long until the next hunt? What are the odds of success? These calculations never end. Comfort is not an option. Barely adequate is the goal. You're going on another hunt tomorrow.
Ice fishing again, because it's reliable. And reliability matters more than glory. Your father is taking you and 2 uncles, making it a larger expedition. More people means more work capacity, more fish caught, more food for the extended family group. But it also means more people to feed during the expedition, more complexity coordinating effort, more risk if something goes wrong. Everything is trade-offs. Everything is calculation. There are no simple decisions in a world where every choice affects survival odds. The fishing expedition is successful. Over 2 days on the ice, your group catches 23 fish, enough to feed 4 families for several days. But success brings its own challenges. How do you transport 23 fish plus gear back to the settlement? The answer is a sled, quickly constructed from mammoth ribs and hide, loaded with the frozen fish and dragged by all 4 of you working as a team. It's exhausting work, but you're getting better at this kind of sustained effort. Your body is adapting to the constant physical demands. You're stronger than you were a month ago, more efficient, more capable of pushing through discomfort. This is adaptation happening in real time, your body reshaping itself for this life. On the walk back, your uncle tells stories. This is how your people pass time during long treks. Oral history, legends, practical knowledge wrapped in narrative. He tells the story of a hunt from his youth, when he and 6 others pursued a mammoth for 3 days, finally killing it with repeated spear thrusts, losing 2 men in the process. He tells it matter-of-factly, not glorifying the dead or making the hunt seem heroic. It's just information. This is what mammoth hunting costs. This is why we prefer seal. This is the calculation. You're listening and learning. Every story is a lesson. Every lesson is survival knowledge that might save your life someday. By the time you reach home, it's evening, and you're exhausted but satisfied. The fish are distributed according to contribution and need. Your family gets the largest share because your father organized the expedition, but everyone gets something. A young family with a new infant gets extra, even though they contributed less, because babies are precious, the future of the community. An elder who can no longer hunt gets a share, because he's a repository of knowledge, worth feeding for what he knows. This is social calculus, complex and unspoken, but everyone understands their place in it. You're beginning to understand yours. Contributor, provider, someone worth feeding, because you produce more than you consume. You're 13 now by the count of winters. Your 13th winter is easier than your 12th, not because the cold is less severe, but because you're more capable. You know what to expect. You've built mental models of seasonal progression, food requirements, survival calculations. Your body has adapted. You've gained weight, all of it functional muscle and insulating fat. Your hands are permanently scarred and calloused, capable of handling tools and rope without injury. Your feet have toughened, able to walk miles in extreme cold without frostbite risk. You're becoming what your people need, a competent adult who contributes more than they consume. But more importantly, thoughtful. You're being trusted with new responsibilities. Your father is teaching you navigation, using the stars, sun position, and landscape features. This is critical knowledge. Getting lost in winter means death, so knowing how to find home is survival itself. He's teaching you weather prediction, reading subtle signs in wind direction, animal behavior, ice patterns. He's teaching you the oral history of your people, the stories that contain survival knowledge disguised as entertainment. These stories aren't written anywhere. They exist only in memory, passed from generation to generation. You're becoming a carrier of this knowledge, responsible for remembering and passing it forward. The hardest lesson is learning about failure and death. This winter, a hunting party from your settlement went out for mammoth, a prestige hunt, potentially huge reward, and only 3 of 5 men returned.
2 died when the mammoth charged, crushing one man and goring another. The 3 survivors brought back no meat, just the story of how their companions died. This is the cost of ambition, of seeking glory over reliability. The families of the dead men are now vulnerable, missing adult males who contributed to hunting and labor. Your people don't judge the dead men or the survivors. They just accept reality. Hunting is dangerous. Death happens. Life continues. You're learning to hold these truths without emotion, to see death as data, not tragedy.
Spring is coming. You know this not from temperature, it's still 40 below zero, but from the quality of light. The sun is staying above the horizon for 8 hours now, compared to 4 hours at the winter solstice. The light is different, slightly warmer, touching the landscape with gold instead of grey. Snow is beginning to change texture, becoming slightly granular instead of powder fine. These are subtle signs, invisible to untrained eyes. But to your people they are obvious. Winter is losing its grip. Spring is approaching. Soon there will be dramatic changes. The great thaw, when temperatures rise to above freezing for the first time in 6 months, when rivers break free of ice, when the tundra transforms from white to brown to green. But that's still weeks away. For now it's just the promise of change, the distant hope of warmth. Your family is preparing for spring migration. Your people don't stay in winter settlements year-round. In spring you'll move to the coast where summer brings seals, fish, migrating birds and other food sources. The winter settlement is designed for one thing: surviving the cold. The summer settlement is designed for harvesting the brief abundance that warm months provide. This migration is critical. Staying in winter settlements during summer means missing the food bonanza. Missing summer food means not having enough cached supplies for next winter. Miss one summer, and you might not survive the following winter. Everything connects. Everything matters. You're participating in the migration planning. Your father is teaching you the route, the landmarks, the dangers. The journey is about 80 miles, which sounds short, but with the entire community traveling, including children, elders, sick people, all possessions, all food stores, it will take 2 weeks of careful movement. Too fast and you exhaust the week. Too slow and you miss the spring seal pupping season. Timing is everything. Your father is calculating, recalculating, consulting with other family leaders, debating the optimal departure date. You're watching, learning, understanding that leadership is mostly about making decisions with incomplete information and accepting responsibility for outcomes. The scouts return with mixed news. The coast ice is breaking up early, which means travel will be dangerous, but spring hunting will be excellent. Early breakup means seals have already pupped, and seal pups are vulnerable. Easy hunting that provides both immediate food and training opportunities for young hunters like you. But early breakup also means the route to the coast includes crossing sections of river ice that might not support weight anymore. The scouts describe areas of rotten ice. Ice that looks solid but is honeycomb internally, weakened by flowing water underneath. Step on rotten ice and you break through into freezing water, which means death within minutes if you can't get out and warm up immediately. The council debates for hours and reaches a decision. Move now. Accept the ice risk, because missing the seal pupping season is worse than the danger of crossing suspect ice. This is classic survival calculation, balancing known risk against probable loss. You're learning that your people don't avoid risk. They can't afford to. They just try to minimize it while maximizing reward. Life is about acceptable risk, not safety. Safety doesn't exist here. There's only more dangerous and less dangerous, and even less dangerous can kill you.
The settlement begins preparation for migration. Every family is packing, sorting what to take and what to cache for potential return. You're helping your family make these decisions. Food that won't survive the journey gets eaten now or cached for later. Tools that are essential get packed. Tools that can be replaced at the summer settlement get left. Furs worn for winter are assessed. Some are getting thin and need to be replaced with summer hunting results. Others will last another year. This is inventory management, resource allocation, strategic thinking applied to survival. You're doing calculations in your head. This much food for 2 weeks of travel. This many people. This consumption rate. Yes, we have enough. Barely. If the journey takes longer than 2 weeks, food becomes critical. Everything is tight. Everything is calculated to the edge.
The migration begins at dawn, on a day when the temperature has risen to -20, almost balmy by winter standards. 30 families, about 200 people total, begin moving east toward the coast. The procession is organized, strongest families in front breaking trail, families with young children in the middle, where it's safest, families with sick or elderly members near the end, where others can help if needed. Your family is near the front, a sign of status earned through contribution. Your father is one of the leaders, trusted to make route decisions. You're walking beside him, learning by observation how he chooses paths, avoids danger, maintains pace. The landscape is still winter-locked, but signs of spring are everywhere. The snow is crusted and firm, able to support weight, making walking easier. The sun is warm enough that you've removed your outer face covering, letting sunlight hit your skin for the first time in months. The brightness is almost painful, but it's also glorious. You're seeing wildlife, a wolverine in the distance, watching the human column with wary interest. Ptarmigan flushing from under snowdrifts, their white winter plumage beginning to show brown patches of summer coloring. A Arctic fox, also beginning its color change from white to summer brown. Life is responding to the same signs you are. Spring is coming. The first day of travel covers perhaps 8 miles. This sounds slow, but with the entire community moving together, children being carried, elders moving carefully, sleds being dragged, it's actually good progress. By evening, the families are setting up temporary camps, creating snowblock windbreaks, lighting small fires with dried dung and bone. This is temporary shelter, not the elaborate winter dwellings, just enough to survive one night before moving again tomorrow. You're helping build your family's windbreak, stacking snow blocks, learning the architecture of temporary survival. Everything your people do is about adaptation. Winter dwellings for long-term survival, temporary camps for migration, summer dwellings for seasonal harvesting. Different challenges require different solutions. On the 4th day of migration, disaster strikes. You're crossing a river. The ice is thick enough to support individuals, but when 2 families try to cross simultaneously with their sleds, the combined weight is too much. There's a crack like thunder, and a section of ice perhaps 20 feet across collapses. 5 people plunge into the water, 3 adults and 2 children. The water is so cold it's almost frozen solid, perhaps 32 degrees Fahrenheit, just above freezing point. At this temperature, you have maybe 3 minutes before cold shock causes you to gasp involuntarily underwater and drown. Maybe 10 minutes before hypothermia makes your muscles stop working, and you can't climb out even if you wanted to. The response is immediate and coordinated. Men throw ropes, others form human chains lying flat to distribute weight across the remaining ice, pulling the drowning people toward the edge. Your father is one of the rescuers, lying on his stomach, reaching for a struggling man. You're standing back with other young people, watching, terrified, helpless, terrified. Within 2 minutes, 4 people are pulled out, but one child, perhaps 6 years old, has disappeared under the ice, swept by current. Divers try to find her, brave men ducking under the ice, searching in darkness.
But after 5 minutes they surface, shaking their heads. She's gone, lost, dead. The rescued people are rushed to fires, stripped of wet clothing, wrapped in dry furs, given hot seal oil to drink. They're shivering so violently they can't speak, their lips blue, their faces grey. But they're alive. 4 saved, 1 lost. The mathematics of disaster. The migration pauses for 1 day to care for the survivors, to mourn the dead child, to assess whether to continue or turn back. The decision is to continue. Turning back means arriving at the coast too late to hunt seals, which means starvation next winter. 1 death is terrible, but dozens of deaths from starvation would be worse. The calculations never stop. The cold calculus of survival overrides emotional response. You're learning that surviving as a community sometimes means accepting individual losses. The migration reaches the coast on the 10th day. The settlement left 6 people behind in temporary graves marked by stone cans. The child who drowned, 3 elders who died from exhaustion during the journey, and 2 adults who died when a windbreak collapsed during a storm. 6 deaths for 200 people over 2 weeks of travel represents a 3% mortality rate. Your people consider this acceptable. A good migration where fewer than 5% die is considered successful. This might seem callous to modern people, but your people live with different mathematics. Life expectancy here is perhaps 35 years. Child mortality is about 50% before age 5. Death is normal, expected, integrated into the mathematics of existence. You mourn the dead, but briefly, because the living need attention. The summer settlement is a revelation. Where the winter settlement was small and permanent, designed to endure, the summer settlement is sprawling and temporary, designed to harvest. Dozens of hide tents dot the coastline, positioned near seal haul-out sites, fishing rivers, and bird cliffs. The coast itself is beginning to transform. Ice is breaking up, creating open water, and that water brings life. Seals are everywhere, hauling out on ice floes, giving birth to pups, vulnerable and accessible. Birds are arriving in enormous flocks, nesting on cliff faces, laying eggs that can be harvested. Fish are running up rivers in preparation for spawning. This is abundance, relative abundance, the brief window of plenty that must be exploited before winter returns. You're assigned to seal hunting detail with the youth cohort. 6 young people, ages 12 to 15, supervised by 2 experienced hunters. Your job is to learn, practice, and contribute. The seals on ice floes are different from seals at breathing holes. They're visible, which makes them seem easier, but they're also extremely cautious, capable of escaping into water in seconds. Hunting them requires stealth, patience, and understanding of seal behavior. You're about to get intensive training in predation, in the art of killing for survival. You make your first seal kill on ice floes. After an hour of patient crawling, you're within harpoon range. The lead hunter gives you the nod, your throw, your attempt. Your hands are shaking slightly as you grip the harpoon, a smaller version designed for youth, but still deadly, still capable of taking life. The seal is perhaps 15 feet away, lying on an ice floe, relaxed, but watchful. This is the moment. Everything you've learned has been leading to this. You're calculating distance, wind, the movement of the ice floe on the water. You're taking a breath, holding it. Your arm is pulling back, then forward, releasing. The harpoon flies, straight and true, striking the seal in the shoulder, the barbed point driving deep. The seal explodes into motion, diving for water, but the harpoon is lodged. The line is paying out from the coil beside you. You're grabbing the line as you were taught, holding but not stopping. Let the seal tire itself. Don't try to muscle it or you lose.
The seal is diving, surfacing, diving again, panicked and bleeding. You're feeling every movement through the line, the pulls, the struggles. This is awful and necessary. You're killing to live. After perhaps 5 minutes, the seal is weakening, the blood loss and exhaustion winning. You're hauling in the line, hand over hand, drawing the body toward you. The hunters are helping now, pulling the seal onto solid ice, finishing the kill with a club blow to the head. It's over. The seal is dead. You killed it. Your hands are shaking, not from cold but from adrenaline and emotion. You've killed something, taken life to preserve your own. This is what hunting is. Not sport, not glory, just necessary death. The seal is a young one, perhaps 80 pounds, and it's yours by hunting law. The person who makes the kill receives the pelt and first choice of meat. The hunters are congratulating you, patting your shoulder, treating you differently now. You've become a hunter, not an experienced hunter, not a master, but someone who's proven capable. This changes your status in the community. You're not a child anymore. You're a youth who contributes, who takes.
Summer is a time of intensive work. The weeks of relative abundance must be exploited to maximum degree, because winter is always coming. Your days follow a pattern. Wake before dawn, hunt seals on the ice floes until midday, return with kills, process them immediately. Meat, blubber, hide, bones, everything. Rest briefly, then evening work collecting bird eggs from cliff faces, or fishing in the rivers, or gathering the few plants that grow in this environment. You're working perhaps 16 hours a day, pushing your body to its limits. But the work is possible because there's enough food. In winter, you must conserve energy because food is scarce. In summer, you can expend energy because food is abundant. The seasonal rhythm is about matching activity level to resource availability. You're getting better at seal hunting. Your second kill comes easier than your first. Your fifth kill is almost routine. You're learning to read seal behavior, to predict their movements, to position yourself optimally. Your throwing accuracy improves. Your processing skills develop. By your 20th kill, you're no longer a novice, but a competent hunter, reliable and productive. Your family is benefiting from your contributions. They eat better because of your efforts. This is satisfaction deeper than any modern achievement. You're directly responsible for keeping people alive. There's no ambiguity, no abstraction. You kill seals, your family eats. The causal chain is immediate and obvious. But success brings new challenges. You're beginning to understand the social hierarchy of your people more clearly, now that you're participating in adult work. Status is based on contribution and competence. The best hunters receive respect, better treatment, more voice in decisions. Mediocre hunters are tolerated but marginalized. Non-contributors are seen as burdens, drains on resources. Your people can't afford to carry dead weight. This creates pressure. You must continue to perform, to contribute, to prove your worth, or risk social demotion. There's no retirement. Summer ends suddenly. One morning, you wake to find ice forming on the edges of water containers. The temperature has dropped perhaps 20 degrees overnight, from barely above freezing to well below. The animals know what this means. The seal haul-out sites empty as seals move to deeper water. Birds that were everywhere suddenly take flight, beginning migration south. Even the fish run slow and stop. Summer is over.
The brief window of abundance has closed. Now comes the race against winter. Your people must migrate back to the winter settlement before the land becomes impassable, before the cold becomes deadly, before the food stores run out. The summer harvest has been good. Each family has stores of dried meat, rendered blubber in sealed containers, dried fish, some preserved bird eggs, and hides for clothing and shelter repairs. This is wealth in your world. Not gold or money, but calories and materials that will keep people alive when nothing grows and nothing can be hunted. Your family's stores are better than most because you've contributed significantly. Your mother is proud, speaking your name when distributing food. Nutak brought this seal, making sure everyone knows. This is your reputation being built, your status being established. You're becoming someone who matters, who contributes, who's worth keeping alive. The return migration is faster than the outward journey. Only 8 days instead of 10, because everyone is stronger after a summer of good eating, and because urgency pushes pace. The river ice is forming again, making crossing easier and safer. The landscape is transforming, the brief green of summer vegetation dying back to brown, snow beginning to form, winter reasserting dominance. By the time you reach the winter settlement, the temperature is steady at -40 and dropping. Winter has returned. The cycle continues. You've survived a full year, winter to spring to summer to winter again. You understand now that this cycle is endless, that every year is the same battle. But survival is not a destination, but a process that never stops.
Your second winter is different from your first. Not because the cold is less severe. If anything, this winter is colder, with temperatures dropping below -80 on the worst days. But because you're prepared, psychologically and physically. You know what to expect. You've proven you can survive. The terror of the unknown has been replaced by respectful awareness of danger. You still might die. Anyone might die. Winter never stops trying to kill you. But the probability is lower because you're more competent, more careful, more experienced. You're also starting to think about the future in ways you couldn't before. At 12, you were focused on surviving each day. At 14, you're beginning to think about years, about your place in the long chain of your people's existence. You're understanding that you're not just surviving for yourself, but preserving knowledge that will pass to the next generation. You're seeing yourself as part of something larger, a culture, a people, a survival strategy that's worked for 40,000 years and must continue working for 40,000 more. Your people's oral history speaks of the long cold, the period your people have endured since time beyond memory, when ice covered much of the world, and humans survived by adapting to conditions that would kill any other primate. You're part of that adaptation, living proof that humans can survive anywhere, can adapt to any condition, can persist against any hardship. This isn't pride exactly. Pride is a luxury, but it's recognition. You're part of something that matters, something that's bigger than individual survival. You're helping ensure that human knowledge doesn't disappear, that the lessons learned at the cost of countless lives continue to be remembered and passed on. Spring comes again, and with it another migration to the coast. But this time you're in a teaching role as well as a learning role. There are younger children, new additions to the settlement through birth and through families joining from other settlements. And these children need to learn everything you've learned. You're assigned to teach a cohort of 4 young people, ages 8 to 11, the basics of seal hunting. This is your first formal teaching responsibility, and it's harder than you expected. Knowledge that's intuitive to you must be broken down into steps, explained, demonstrated, corrected. Patience is required. Empathy is required. Understanding that people learn at different rates is required. One child in your cohort is particularly difficult, clumsy, inattentive, resistant to instruction. You're tempted to write him off, to focus on the 3 who are learning well. But your father pulls you aside and reminds you, the easy students will succeed with any teacher. Your worth is measured by whether you can teach the difficult ones. The community survives when even mediocre people are competent. If you teach only the talented, you've taught nothing important. This is wisdom that cuts deep. You're learning that teaching is not about you looking good by having good students. It's about the community becoming stronger by making every member as capable as possible. You adjust your approach, giving the difficult student extra time, breaking tasks into smaller steps, finding different ways to explain the same concept until something clicks. By summer's end, all 4 of your students have made successful SEAL kills. Even the difficult one succeeds, though it takes longer. You're prouder of his success than of the others, because it required more from you as a teacher. You're beginning to understand that your role in the community is expanding beyond just hunting. You're becoming a knowledge keeper, a teacher, someone who ensures that the next generation survives. This is how cultures persist, not through writing or institutions, but through people teaching people, face to face, season after season, generation after generation after generation, for 40,000 years.
Narrative. You're 16 now, and something shifts in how the community sees you. You're no longer a youth learning roles, you're an adult fulfilling roles. The distinction is significant. You have responsibilities, obligations, expectations that you're held to without leniency. You participate in adult councils, making decisions about hunting schedules, migration timing, food distribution. Your voice carries weight because you've proven competent. Status in your culture is earned through contribution, and you've contributed significantly. You're a provider, a teacher, a decision maker. You've become what your people need, a functional adult who makes the community stronger by existing. But adulthood brings new pressures. There are discussions about marriage, pairing you with a girl from another family to create alliances, to produce children, to ensure the next generation. Marriage in your culture isn't about love or romance. Those are luxuries. It's about survival strategy, about combining resources, about producing and raising the next generation of survivors. You're ambivalent about this. You understand the necessity, but you're not ready. You're still learning, still developing, still figuring out who you are beyond survival. But your reluctance doesn't matter much. Individual preference is secondary to community need. If the elders decide a pairing makes sense, it happens. This is how your people have survived for 40,000 years, by prioritizing group survival over individual desire. You're also becoming aware of the fragility of your people's existence. Your settlement is perhaps 30 families, maybe 200 people. There are other settlements scattered across this vast landscape, but contact is infrequent. If a disaster, a particularly bad winter, a disease, a hunting accident that kills multiple men, struck your settlement, recovery would be difficult, maybe impossible. Your people exist at the edge of viability. A few bad breaks and the entire culture could vanish. This awareness creates a sense of responsibility that's almost overwhelming. You're not just surviving for yourself, you're preserving knowledge, skills, culture that could disappear if your generation fails. This is existential pressure that most modern people never experience. But you're 17 and you've been paired for a year now. The girl's name is Siku. It means ice in your language, named for her pale coloring and cold weather endurance.
The pairing has evolved from awkward arrangement to functional partnership to something approaching affection, though your people don't really have vocabulary for romantic love. You respect her competence, value her contributions, appreciate her presence. She feels similarly about you. This is what passes for a successful marriage in your culture. You work well together. You don't fight. You're both productive. That's enough. Your first child is born in early summer, a son, small but healthy, screaming with impressive lung capacity. You're present at the birth, which in your culture is normal. Fathers participate, help, support. Birth is dangerous. Women die. Babies die. And extra hands improve survival odds. You're watching your son emerge into the world, into cold air and harsh light, and you're feeling something new and terrifying. Responsibility that extends beyond yourself, beyond even your immediate survival. This tiny human is completely dependent on you. He'll die without your hunting skills, your knowledge, your protection. This is overwhelming and clarifying simultaneously. Your purpose is no longer abstract. It's this small person whose survival depends entirely on your competence. You're naming him Turak, strong one in your language, a hopeful name, an aspirational name. Names matter in your culture, their intentions spoken into existence. You want him to be strong, because weakness here means death. You want him to survive what half his generation won't survive. You want him to grow into a man who hunts, who contributes, who teaches the next generation. But mostly, you just want him to live. The statistics are brutal. 50% child mortality before age 5. Your son has a coin flip chance of making it to his 5th birthday. This thought haunts you every time you look at his tiny face. Your son survives his first winter, defying the statistics. He's small but tough, rarely sick, adapting to the cold like he was born for it, which, in a sense, he was. 40,000 years of genetic selection have created humans specifically adapted to this environment, and Turak is the latest iteration of that adaptation. By his second summer, he's walking, babbling in your language's simple syllables, becoming a person rather than just a dependent. You're teaching him everything, even at this young age. How to stay close to adults in wind, how to avoid touching metal in extreme cold, how to recognize danger. These lessons might seem too advanced for a toddler, but early learning is survival learning. Children who learn fast have better survival odds. You're also teaching the broader community, now responsible for cohorts of young hunters each season. You've developed a reputation as a patient, effective teacher who can work with difficult students. This means you get aside the challenging cases, the clumsy, the slow, the frightened, and you succeed with them more often than not. This is your role crystallizing: hunter provider and knowledge keeper teacher. You're becoming one of the people the community relies on, not just for food, but for ensuring the next generation is competent. This is status, but it's also burden. People depend on you. If you fail, if you die, if you make poor decisions, if you stop contributing, others suffer. This responsibility never stops weighing on you. You're 20 years old when you realize you've become your father. Not literally, but functionally. You make the same kinds of decisions he makes. You think through problems the same way. You carry the same burdens of responsibility. The transition from child to adult to leader happened so gradually you didn't notice it occurring, but now it's complete. When young people ask you questions, they're asking with the same respect you once gave to elders. When the community needs difficult decisions made, you're consulted. This is maturity, realizing you've become the person younger people look to for guidance, and understanding that you must be worthy of that trust. You're sitting by the lamp on a winter evening, 25 years old, watching your son, now 5, having beaten the odds,
play with bone charms while your daughter, 2 years old, sleeps in her mother's arms. Your family has grown. Siku is pregnant again with a third child. Your parents are aging but still active. Your younger brother has married and started his own family. The settlement continues. Life persists. The cycle repeats. You're thinking about the question your father asked you years ago, about what you'd learned. The answer is clearer now than it was then. You've learned that survival isn't about one dramatic triumph. It's about thousands of small, competent actions, repeated daily, seasonally, yearly, for entire lifetimes. It's about getting up every morning and doing what needs to be done, regardless of cold, fatigue, fear, or discomfort. It's about teaching what you know to people who'll teach it to others who'll teach it to others, creating a chain of knowledge that extends backward 40,000 years and forward, you hope, 40,000 more. You've learned that humans can survive anything, adapt to anything, endure anything, if they work together, if they remember what worked before, if they prioritize group survival over individual comfort. Your people have lived in conditions that would kill any other primate. And they've not just survived, but thrived in their way, creating culture, art, stories, meaning. Even in the harshest environment on Earth, this is the triumph of human adaptability, human intelligence, human cooperation. You're proud to be part of it, proud to contribute, proud to pass it forward. Your son looks up from his play, asks a question. Father, when the cold comes again, will we survive? And you answer with complete honesty. I don't know. We'll try. We'll do everything we know how to do. That's all anyone can do. This is the truth you've learned. Survival is never guaranteed. But effort matters. Knowledge matters. Preparation matters. Community matters. These things don't ensure survival, but they improve odds. And in a world where slight improvements in odds